Hello and welcome. My name is Alex Romero from Glasso Learning Solutions. On this week's Genuine Learning blog, we're going to be looking at the INPAS Overview. So what is INPAS? It is the International Nonprofit Accounting Standard, and this was launched in October of 2025. So a little bit of background out of this is that the INPAS actually came as the primary output from that International Financial Reporting for Nonprofit Organizations, or the IFR for NPO. And you've probably seen that acronym because they were established in 2019, and their whole idea was, how do we bring consistency, comparability, some transparency, reliability, credibility, all these ability words to the nonprofit world and those financial statements. So they put together this INPAS, these standards that are going to be applicable and can be used by nonprofit organizations. So you might be asking, all right, well, what is INPAS? So it is going to be guidance for nonprofits to be able to complete their financial reports. It also is going to be a framework, and it's going to be accrual based. So you're going to still have that recognition, your measurement, presentation, and disclosures, but this is something that is going to be specific to nonprofit organizations. Now, who is going to be adopting this? Well, each country is actually going to be looking at this and seeing if they are going to be requiring their nonprofits that are registered as such to be using INPAS, but nonprofits may voluntarily go ahead and adopt this if they are permitted. So what are the main objectives in INPAS? Well, the first one is to improve the quality, the transparency, and credibility of the nonprofit organization's financial reports. So being able to look at one and then looking at another organization that's a nonprofit and seeing that consistency and being able to really compare the two. This also is going to be supporting the provisions of nonprofit financial statements that is useful for decision making and for accountability and balancing the needs of those preparers and users. So before this, there wasn't anything that was very specific to our nonprofit organizations, especially something that could be used internationally. Lastly, it is going to be addressing specific nonprofit issues. It's going to promote that comparability between nonprofit financial reports. So what are we going to be covering in INPAS? Well, there's a number of different items, and we have them all listed here in our different buckets. So the first one is going to be, what types of organizations are nonprofit organizations? Next, we're going to be looking at who are the primary users of nonprofit financial statements. Do they understand what they are looking at? I know a lot of times when I was doing presentation, when I was an auditor to a nonprofit board, it was pretty much the only people that understood it was the treasurer and maybe the executive director or the other people that were higher up in leadership within the nonprofit. A lot of people didn't understand the statement of financial position, the statement of activities, because they had never heard of it like that. They knew them as the balance sheet and the income statement. So who are our users and how are we going to be able to really relay this information so that they can understand it? Next, we're going to be accounting for grants and donations, another key component and piece of a nonprofit organization. Next, presenting funds with use restrictions, another thing that we need to make sure that we have with or without donor restrictions, and how are we going to be displaying that and getting that information to our users. And then we have, lastly, our two last buckets on here is presentation and disclosure of expenses and that narrative reporting requirements. So INPAS is going to have the structure set up into different sections. I'm not going to walk through each of these, but they are listed here and they are labeled as A through I. So you see different things as such as principles, the financial statements. When we're looking at assets and liabilities, are these going to be financial or non-financial, consolidations? And then the one that I find most interesting is down at the bottom, the transition to INPAS. So how do you go about doing this? So what is our effective date here? Our effective date was effective immediately. So you could, as soon as this come out, look at this and see if you wanted to implement it within your nonprofit organization. Now, I know that was a really quick, high level overview, and that's being very intentional because GLS is going to be coming out with a course that is going to really cover all the different areas of NPAS so that you'll be able to understand what's in all the different sections, what do you need to be looking at, what are the differences from what you maybe been doing to what is now on NPAS, and all those different questions. That's going to be all answered in the new course that will be coming out soon. Now, Glasso Learning Solutions, we have a wonderful program, our audit staff level training. We have a number of different levels here, going from our new hires and interns all the way up to experienced seniors. And so this is offered throughout the year. We have dates on here that go all the way to the end of 2026. So check them out, see if it matches what you're needing for your audit staff, and so they can plug in and learn some of that level training. So thank you so much for joining me today as we looked at NPAS and an overview and just kind of a highlight of what this is, and then getting ready for that deeper dive that's going to be coming out in a full-length course here soon. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.